A
fresh start now. It's another band. All the Muslim cars now with your baggy up. I talk my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flips me a baggy up. So, it's another one, yeah. It's a full run, yeah. Oh, it's another one, yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Crossroads Boxing with myself, Eric ERF. Today we've got a guest on with me because Rico, my right-hand man, is a bit under the weather, so I've managed to pull a guest out of somewhere and I appreciate it. So we're just going to go to the promo video and we'll be back. Hello. So, welcome to the fourth episode of Crossroads Boxing. Today, I've got with me a fellow Yorkshireman. I've got someone who can actually understand me now, seeing as Rico complains the whole time he can't understand me. He needs subtitles. So, I've got someone who could understand me. Rico, if you can bring CJ in.
How are you doing, guys? All right.
All right, CJ, how you doing?
Good, mate. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on your.
Thank you for coming. It's mad, really, this, because we've got a mutual friend, and obviously he knows I do this, and he knows you. So he actually rang me, and he was like, "You're gonna love me." I was like, "Why? What's up?" He's like, "My friend is a trainer and whatnot," and thankfully you kept your word and hit me up about it, so I appreciate it.
No, I love to, mate. Out like this, it's just good to be involved in anything boxing, mate, isn't it? So
that's the thing. I'm just a boxing fan who just is obsessed with the sport and managed to get a spot doing this and talking about stuff like boxing, which I love to do. You know what I mean? So it's good to have someone else on. Apart from just talking to Rico, someone else I can have a conversation with about everything. But you have obviously a gym, you're a coach, you're part of the Steffi Bull gym, and so on and so forth. If you want to tell the viewers what you're doing with your gym and how you got into boxing as well.
Yeah, so I work out at Selby. I rent a space in a gym. I don't have my own premises yet. Fingers crossed in the future I'll get there. Run some kids classes, run some adults classes. SP8 boxing, that's ours there. But yeah, I've been privileged enough to get a chance working at St. Peter's Amateur Boxing Club in Doncaster. That's the amateur side of Steffi Bull, if you like.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have much to do with the amateur side, obviously, but it's like a machine. Obviously, we want to push forward national champions, and then they go on to do whatever he thinks they can achieve. So very privileged to be a part of that, mate. And been involved with boxing on and off since about 11 years old, locally around here, and then going on to different gyms. I've trained in Doncaster, Leeds. There's a few spells in Hull, Sheffield for a lot of it as as well. So I've been about a bit, mate.
Did you actually box as well? Or
I boxed amateur. Nothing to shout home about. I was riddled with injuries, mate, and in and out of being bothered, being interested, going out with mates more, stuff like that. So, and then when I actually proper fancied to go it, I was that injured and stuff that, so I turned to coaching side of it, pal, and that. I'm glad I have, to be fair.
Yeah. No, definitely. I was saying I've got to come down maybe Saturday. I'm going to try and come through if you're about. So, but yeah, I was last week. Me and Rico, we ended on touching on women's boxing, and obviously you're the right person in this moment with this with the topic what we was on with the the Caroline Dubois calling Terry out, and obviously Terry saying it's not enough money, it's not long enough to train for that fight, the 7 weeks. Is there any insight you can give to us where Terry's at? Is she got anything lined up or anything like that?
No, not as far as I'm aware. I'd never make an official comment or anything like that. But it's nothing different to what you guys already know. 200 grand for a 7-week notice fight, a massive fight as well, a massive fight for both of them. I think it is daft. I mean, I think even Baumgartner had made a comment of like, that's camp money. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think everyone's really in the loop with that.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, sorry, go on.
No, go on, carry on.
Behind the scenes, I think Caroline had said like we offered the contract well before that, and yeah, they're just always going to be back and forth in that way. But I think everyone's on the same page. And anyone who's, I won't say really into boxing, but say maybe in the know-how. I mean, even you said it doesn't seem like a lot of money for not a lot of time. Do you know what I mean?
And for me, anyway, me personally, I think in that division, it's probably the biggest fight for both of them. Terry has a name. She's done a lot in the sport. Caroline is up and coming. Beatrice Ferreira's there to win. There as a fighter who's a great fighter. But for me, that fight with Beatrice, as good as Beatrice is, as for commercial wise and selling prowess wise, I think Terry and Caroline's a bigger fight anyway. So for me, that would be the fight you would want for Undisputed.
100%. No disrespect to Ferreira, but it's not going to put bums on seats.
No.
I think I'm a massive fan of women's boxing anyway, but women's boxing is coming to a peak. Still, there is a lot of people that aren't interested or aren't as interested in women's boxing. Would you rather see Dubois Ferreira or Dubois Harper? Like, you would tune in for that. I think most people would anyway.
Yeah, especially for that fight to be on an undercard as well.
Yeah,
a fight like that builds women's boxing. It deserves a main event with a good undercard. Because, like I said, I personally believe that Terry versus Caroline for any belts, to be honest with you, is bigger than a Ferreira fight. Ferreira, in my opinion, is probably the best fighter in that division.
Okay,
she's probably, for me, talent-wise, looking at it from how her career started, what she's done in the amateurs, her style, it's probably the hardest fight for both of the girls. It's probably Caroline's hardest fight. That's why she doesn't want to take it on an undercard on 7 weeks' notice.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because if you're asking Terry to do that, if someone's calling you out and saying, "Well, I'll take the 200 grand and fight you on that undercard," where's the offer? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course I do. Yeah, of course I do. And again, like, and this is even from me as well. Like, not that I'm massively part of the camp or anything like that, but there'll be so much more going on behind the scenes in both camps, on both sides, with promoters, with managers. It's never as black and white as you think it is. And no. getting like my pro license and like being privileged enough to be a part of something like that and see on the inside, that blew my mind to how mad it actually is. You know, the constant phone calls or messages or emails or people trying to matchmake. Nothing is simple at all, mate, at all.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like I said, even with it's strange because being a boxing fan, being able to say what you think and how you feel and stuff like that is one thing I've always done. I just want to give my opinion, no matter who I'm speaking to, whether you disagree with me or not. I want to be able to give my opinion. I want you to give your opinion, and we can have a conversation about it. That's the whole point of the sport. When you're not in that ring, as a fans, you can have conversations and disagree and learn something from other people. Is there any other fighters you're currently working with, female fighters wise, or in and around?
There's some I've been a part of that I'm really excited about. If that's something. Turning over, not got a debut agreed or anything yet. Is Casey Ducey. She's got the name for it as well. It's one of them names that just puts you down on it. She just won a national title trains so hard day in, day out, like really does live the sport, like proper athlete's mentality. I think she'll be one for the future. I really do. Steffi manages Rhiannon DeForo. Have you seen anything of her?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen anything.
She was the pro fight in Mexico at 16.
Right. Oh yeah. I didn't actually see that fight. I did hear about it. I did hear about it. Yes, I did hear about it.
Quality. Like, I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of good stuff in different gyms, seeing a lot of professionals, seeing a lot of sparring, and thinking like, wow. But for seeing her at 16 doing what she's done to some of the people I've seen her spar with, mind blowing, mate. Honestly, like,
What weight class is she?
I can't remember what she just boxed at then, but seriously, like, look her up. Make sure you look her up.
I will do. I will do after this. I definitely will do.
Yeah. Weights,
so
I'll tell you now, weights and pounds and stuff like that, mate, it just blows my head.
Yeah. I've had to convert because we do stones over here. So it's like being obviously boxing constantly. It's like everything's now started coming in pounds. I literally look at everything in pounds now.
Yeah. And then with amateurs, it's kg mainly.
Kg, yeah. It's awkward. It is awkward at times, but yeah. And the super featherweight division. That's what Terry's in right now. Her obviously moving up to super welterweight, moving up 3 divisions it was. Super welterweight, 3 divisions to fight for that title and campaigning up there. The Rhiannon Dixon fight was probably the performance she put on. I wasn't expecting. I'll be honest. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it because
better or worse?
Pardon?
Better or worse?
No, it was a lot better than I was expecting because I was at the Breakhouse fight live in Sheffield. I was at that fight, and I didn't think Terry did enough to win that fight. Obviously, it was a draw. Yeah. The fight itself, but neither fighter really did anything to win the fight. So a draw was probably, to be fair, I think when the final bell went, I went, it'll be a draw because just the performance on both parts just wasn't there on the night. And then obviously fighting Sandy, which Sandy's a bigger fighter, a very good fighter. Losing to Sandy, I didn't expect the performance she gave against Rhiannon. It was refreshing. It was nice to see her back on her toes, actually boxing again. She looks a lot better at that weight.
Yeah, I think I've spoken to Terry about this myself. I did get to see a lot of that camp, so I can comment on that. Yeah. Steffi brought in Paul DeRose, her old amateur coach. Paul's a brilliant man, like the original owner of St. Peter's Amateur Boxing Club. So he's bred some champions himself. To see them sort of day in, day out on the pads, she was flowing, she was on her toes, she was nice and long, she was committing. And her fitness levels are crazy, by the way. Like, she just goes and goes and goes and goes. It felt to me, like, my honest opinion, of a bit like going back to basics and starting again. And
it looked like that's what she did, because obviously Terry's not a super welterweight. She's far from it. Obviously, she started off light at super feather at 130. Coming up, the fight she had there, the Natasha Jonas fight, which was a great fight coming out. I would love to see that rematch. Obviously, I know Terry wants it. Natasha and her team, they're for some reason, I don't know why they're not interested. But I'd love to see that rematch.
I'd like to see Joe Gallagher and Steffi again as well. I like that. They had a bit.
That would be the highlight. That's all I'm looking forward to, because I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Gallagher. I just, something about him just, I don't know. It just rattles me a little bit. It does. It just, some of his takes, I just think to myself, why? Just, how do you have that? But anyway.
I've been lucky to be down at his gym once or twice for some sparring for some lads. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I got to see Natasha like training. Charlie Edwards was there. Mark Efron. It was good. The atmosphere was really good. You know, I could tell there was a good group. He's got. It sounds daft saying it, but he's got a lot of respect. Do you know? Anything he said went in that gym.
Obviously, you don't have the accolades without you're going to gain that respect, obviously, inside. Like I said, it's just as a fan, I'm viewing him off of interviews I've seen.
Yes,
And
things
press
he said.
conferences. That's completely different. I can view him. I can view him like that, and he could be a totally different person out when the camera's not on. So, obviously, he's a great trainer. He hasn't got world champions for no reason.
Yeah,
he hasn't been in the sport for no reason. You know what I mean? What he did with the Smith brothers and whatnot was, I mean, it was remarkable, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, that's just put me into a segment. What do you think about the Callum Smith versus Buatsi fight?
It's on the Beterbiev.
Yes, Beterbiev, Bivol.
Buatsi. What is it? WBO.
Interim,
international golden silver million belt.
It could be. All I know is that fight doesn't have a belt because the undisputed fight is right after. It's like later on that night. So
yeah. Good fight, really good fight. What do I think? Truthfully, I don't. I'm a big fan of Buatsi. I don't know if he's good enough to beat Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith on his day is awesome.
I'm very much the same with you. I'm a big fan of Buatsi. I've had the pleasure to meet his manager, speak to his manager as well. I've always been a Buatsi fan from when he turned over pro.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been fighting enough, in my opinion. His career's been stagnant for a while. Like when he first got to British level, because he got to British level so quickly.
Yeah,
he was there, and then he moved on. He seemed to move on from British level, but just stay stagnant, not really fighting. But I've said this fight is to see who's the best light heavyweight in Britain.
Yeah,
because I believe Callum Smith might be overlooked a little in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've seen if he has what he had before at 168, even when he first came up at 175, I think it's a hard fight. It's a fight I give Buatsi a lot of credit for taking right now.
Oh, I do, absolutely, yeah. I think Callum got forgotten about for quite a bit, didn't he? And there's always been the hype of Buatsi and Anthony. That's always been in the background, hasn't it? I think he's been forgotten about. I think he had some career problems at a stage of maybe not knowing where to go or whatever. So yeah, you're right. I think it's the biggest fight in Britain for it. I think if Callum Smith's doing a bit of a Terry Harper, if you like, and going back to basics and going to come back strong, I potentially think he could stop Buatsi later on. Yeah,
it's those body shots what Callum Smith throws. His body shots are lethal. He's a very good body puncher. I think, like you said, I think he has been a bit of a forgotten man in that light heavyweight division. Because again, he's been inactive. He fought Beterbiev. It wasn't a great performance by any means. And people sort of, after that performance, there wasn't really any talk about him. Because to be quite honest with you, Callum Smith never came out, and it was as if it was his last fight and he was retiring. Just how he took the loss, how everything was. It didn't feel like he had that fire anymore to carry on.
Yeah, it wasn't the Callum Smith you were used to. And it didn't seem like there was much emotion behind the loss either. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
I'm going away.
That's literally how I felt about it. It didn't feel like it felt like he sort of resigned to the fact that I'm done with it. It is what it is, sort of mentality. And he's come back and fought somebody who obviously who he was going to beat as a warm-up fight. But I think that fight for both fighters, it's probably the best fight for both fighters that they can make. Yeah. I don't count Callum Smith out. I want to see Buatsi. I want to see Buatsi win this because I want to see how far he can actually go. I want to see this promise we were sold. You know what I mean? What's always been there where you see like he might actually have it. He might actually have it. And at this point, he just hasn't shown that quite yet. At British level, he's shown it. I mean, he's cleared out the British scene. he's shown what he can do at British level, but there's always that next step of, can you get to world level and maintain world level?
I think he's always had the tools. I think he's really likable. I think he does everything right, and he's got all the attributes. And not knocking him in the slightest, I just don't think it's just been very stop-start, and it for whatever reasons. Like you say, for how quickly Matchroom were pushing him at the start. I mean, you were seeing him every week, weren't you? Every other week, he was constantly there to British level. To then it just sort of petered off. And I remember thinking, I can't remember. He boxed a French. I'm sure he was a French bloke at one point.
Yeah, I remember that fight. It was a tough fight for him. I think it was a really tough fight, and he ended up stopping him like in 11th round. Or did he get?
Yeah, and that was the fight where I thought, do you know what? You always get like what's the word? A banana skin or something like that.
Yeah. One of those what's not supposed to be.
Yeah, he showed he had to dig deep. He showed he had to bring something else to the table, and that was me thinking he's got it here, because you don't always get through stuff like that. And then that's when I think, not that it took a dive or anything daft, but it just didn't go on from there. Improve or whatever.
It felt like he sort of went inactive.
Yeah,
he sort of really went inactive. In that period after that, I don't know whether it was contract. I know obviously he was signed to fight Pascal, and then that fight fell through and was delayed, and then fell through because of the drugs tests, and then that sort of went away, and then he was supposed to fight someone else. And it's sort of like I said, his career has been stagnant, stop-start. It's a shame, but like I said, that's one of the reasons why I'm really pulling for him, because I want to see if he's got that. Callum Smith will show that. He will have to show he's got it against Callum Smith, in my opinion, because Callum is a big puncher, and two, he's a very good boxer. And I think if Buatsi and his team don't take this serious, which I don't doubt they are, this fight could be a very difficult fight for him.
If Buatsi beats Callum, which he has every tool in the box to do so, I think you're looking at the next champion then. 100%. He's got it in him.
We're sticking with that division. 2 seconds. Oh, big up Trey in the chat. Thank you. Cheers. Sticking with that division, you've got Yard, obviously. It looks like he's fighting Lyndon Arthur for the third. You know what? I'm so happy I got that reaction from you when I mentioned that. I'm so happy I got that reaction from you, because that's how I feel. Even saying it in my mind, it's like, if you look at it on paper and you say it's 1-1, you can see a third fight on paper without seeing both fights, without seeing anything. You say 1-1, all right, trilogy. You're never mad at it. This trilogy is the exact same reaction I had to Tyson Fury fighting Chisora for the third time.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I don't even know what to say there. Yeah, it's not exciting me. Put it that way. I'm not interested in it. I like both fighters. I think Yard gets a lot of stick for his career when he's done things a lot of people won't go. I don't know anyone else that would go to Kovalev's back garden. You know what I mean?
We can have a conversation on that, because I feel like when people say he gets stick, I think the only reason why he gets stick is because, yes, there's so much credit you give him for doing that in the little amount of fights he had, the little amount of experience he had at even European level, let alone world level, taking that fight. Obviously, almost stopping Kovalev, ended up casting out in the end. Unbelievable performance, brilliant. But up to that point, he didn't really deserve a Kovalev shot. One,
I don't think he did. No.
2, fair enough for taking it. But then after you take that fight, for me, you did so well in that Kovalev fight where you almost stopped him. You proved that you probably belong in there with a world champion.
I'd definitely say so, mate. Yeah.
You then digressed your own career, you and your team. For me, you went back to fighting not even British level fighters who we want to see you fight.
I'm pulling it up now. I'm pulling it up now. We got right. So we had where are we? Kovalev. Then went on to fight Ramirez, and then Dex Spellman. Yeah.
This is
It's
my
crazy
point.
that really, isn't it?
Didn't he already fought Dex Melbourne before that? Why do I feel like he fought Dex Melbourne already?
No, I
I
don't
might have
think
thinking
so.
of Lyndon. Who Lyndon might
Yeah,
have sometimes,
yeah.
yeah.
So you just saying it as that. I get you having your
That's
what
my
do you call
point.
it?
And then obviously you go from that, you go to the Viterbia fight.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Yet
yeah.
again, okay, you didn't do anything to really put yourself in position, but your team, your promotion put you in that position. Brilliant. You have that fight. Same thing happens. You showed you belonged. This is my issue. This is my issue with Yard's team. You showed yet again. You did really well in that Batavia fight. You fought your heart out. You did. You belong at world level. You showed. You know what? I can be up there. Then what other opponents he fought after Batavia?
So after Batavia, we've got Jorge Silva, Marco Nikolic. I think that's it. And then that last fight, that Ralph Wilkins, which was
This is my point.
appalling.
There is no one at British level. There's so many fighters at light heavyweight in Britain right now with a name.
Yeah.
Like at those points with names that you could have fought that would not only build your name, but you would prove how good you are because you would be then beating and blasting those guys out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than blasting out.
So I'm just flicking through it here. Literally, you got like your Craig Richards. I think obviously Willie Hutchins.
Yeah.
Taylor, Lewis Edmondson, Dan Aziz. There's so many fighters there just at British level.
You've still got Dan Aziz there. He's saying him and Dan are friends or whatever. Well, Josh and Dan was friends. They managed to, you know what I mean? That's my only thing with Yard because when Yard's boxing, I like to watch him fight. I enjoy watching him fight. He's an entertaining fighter. He's an active fighter who's constantly letting his hands go. He is coming forward. I enjoy his style. But when I'm looking at your career and we're looking at you saying, oh, well, Buatsi hasn't fought at world level. He turned this down for world level. I can understand that. But whilst he hasn't fought at world level, he's fighting and beating the domestic fighters who we all know. Yeah. You are fighting at world level, and unfortunately, you're coming up short at world level, and there's only so much credit you can get for coming up short at world level, especially when both those fights you did really well, but ultimately ended up getting stopped.
Do you think, other than sort of choice of opponent, do you think he gets a lot of stick for the start of his career with all the lions in the camp and all?
Oh yeah, I think. I think he gets a lot of stick because of Tunde, to be quite honest with you.
Do you know what? I've met Tunde, mate. I met Tunde at the Copper Box. It was when James DeGale boxed. It's a long time ago now. Was it Caleb Truax or Truax?
For a world title. Yeah.
And I bumped into him, like, just literally like, oh, sorry, mate. And I was like, oh, Tunde. And he was really sound. But he was no different whatsoever to the videos.
It doesn't surprise me.
and the big guy, I never don't know his name. You know, the big who does the pads.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure what his name is, but yeah.
And he was exactly the same. Lions in the camp, you know, like screaming it down the hallway and stuff. Like I do just. It's a shame, but they made like a rod for their own back. I think was going a bit too far with all that.
Yeah, it's Tunde. You know what? It is Tunde because then you go back to the Kovalev fight where he's a meme for telling Yard when he's literally got Kovalev nearly stopped. Yeah, he's telling Yard empty the tank. He empties his tank, he gets stopped by a jab. It's like one of those things where you're like, you are so loud, and to be this loud, you need to be. Like there needs to be no mistakes. There needs to be no mistakes. Your craziness, what annoy people or people think, what are you doing? You need to answer. Your answer to that needs to be results.
What do they say? But you've got a backy bull. You've got a backy bull when you shout it loud.
Exactly that. That is exactly what you need to do. But Tunde makes me laugh. Where was I? You put me off that. Lions in the camp. Going on to the American scene. I don't know, obviously, how much you keep an eye on that. Obviously, with the Turkey, with the welterweights right now and 140 fighters, with the likes of Teofimo Lopez being ordered to fight the winner of Jack Catterall versus Arnold Barboza.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Jack Catterall versus Barboza fight?
I like Catterall. I'm a big fan of Catterall. Is that in February?
I think, is it February or March?
February.
Manchester.
Yeah.
Manchester.
Yeah,
Manchester. Yeah.
What do I think of that fight, or what do I think of sort of Catterall's career from here?
Well, Catterall's career, both, to be honest with you, both. Yeah.
Massive fan of Catterall. Obviously, that was like one of the biggest robberies in boxing. Well, I don't like using that word, but it was a robbery.
You won't get a disagreement from me on that one.
I think that unfortunately put a bit of a mocker on him, didn't it? And it did obviously slow everything down. Come back and had some good fights. I'm being honest, I'm not very excited about the Barboza fight. That doesn't excite me at all. You mentioning Teo and stuff like that, that excites me. That again, we're going back to sort of the names, aren't we?
Yeah.
But genuinely not. I'm more bothered for undercard on that, to be fair. I think Belotti's fighting Gomez Jr. I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah, I can't believe Belotti's still going. To be quite honest with you,
He's a right little tank, isn't he?
No, I'm surprised he's still going. I remember watching Belotti years ago in Hull. I went to watch. Obviously, I started going to watch fights because Zach Collins from Gould was fighting. Right. He was from the same gym as Luke Campbell. So obviously, when Luke won gold, it all blew up around here, and Zach obviously got a lot of slots on his cards around here. So that's when I started to go watch him, watch live fights. To be honest with you. But yeah, going back to Jack Catterall, I think the Barboza fight is a fight. It's a filler fight where there's nobody else to fight at this moment because, like you said, all the names and anyone with a belt has either just fought or has a fight coming up.
Yeah,
Jack seems to be like I said, the Taylor fight, the first fight. I think that halted his career so much. And unfortunately, which I don't like fighters doing, waiting for somebody. Yeah. And Jack fell into that of waiting for Josh. And the delays and the postponements of fights, it stagnant his career. But I think Jack is a dark horse in this division. Simply because
massively, yeah.
Simply because of that decision. I think he's a dark horse, especially with the likes of Haney moving up, Ryan moving up. You've got the other champions like Puello, which I think Jack can beat. You've got Rayo, Venezuela as well. Yeah. Both those two have fights coming up. But you've got Richardson, Hitchens. The fighters in that division right now who are champions, I think Jack could well make a good run at those guys.
Can I ask you a question? How does that work? Can I
Go for
it. Being in the gym the other day, I was speaking to someone who spends a lot of time in Sheffield. Spends a lot of time with Dalton Smith.
Right.
How far off do you think Dalton is from Catterall level?
You know what? I'd say 2 fights. I'd say if Dalton can get an eliminator.
Yeah.
For that WBC belt, because that seems to be the route he's going. You've got who's the champion there? Puello is fighting Sandor Martin.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm saying 2 fights to fight for Dalton to fight Jack, I think Dalton needs 2 fights to fight Jack. But to become a champion, I think he could do it in his next fight. I think I think he could beat Puello or Sandor Martin. I think he stops Sandor Martin. In my opinion, I think the Puello fight will be a bit more of a chess match, but I think Dalton can get him late or will probably outwork him. So I think he's good enough to win a title at that weight. Yeah. But I think Jack Catterall for me, is probably one of the best in that division now.
Yeah.
With the guys leaving, I think him, Richardson, Hitchens as well. Those two guys are probably just like here. Whereas for me, Dalton here, he can be there within 2 fights quite easily.
I think he's they've done brilliant with his career as well, do you? I think just pacing him at the right times and not rushing him. I think we will see that fight. I think we'll see that fight maybe next year.
What, Jack versus Dalton?
I do, yeah.
Well, that's perfect. I said, you know what? I'm glad I said 2 fights, because there we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Because Jack obviously he beats Barboza. He goes. He's now Teo's mandatory. Teo is either going to fight Jack, which I don't believe he will. I think Teo will drop that belt and either move up, or he'll probably fight a Richardson Hitchens for the IBF. I don't think Teo wants to fight Jack. I don't think Jack in his eyes is a name enough for him to go risking moving up and fighting the likes of Boots and stuff like that. Jack's style is all wrong for Teo. Southpaw, long boxer, very good boxer on the back foot, very good counter puncher. Teo doesn't like to fight counter punchers because he's a counter puncher.
Yeah.
And his counter punches comes off constant aggression. Whereas I think Jack's counter punches, he can counter punch when there's less happening. Teo
he's
doesn't.
good at his timing, isn't he, Catchall?
Yes, yeah.
And
Teo,
when he does catch you, I think people underestimate his power as well. I think he hits hard, very hard. Like not concussive, not power, but as in when he catches you, I think that's the shot for a lot of people. That's how it looks to me anyway when I'm watching him.
Yeah, it does. He dropped Taylor, was it straight left just as he was coming in. He stopped him in his tracks and sat him on his bum, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like you say, for Britain itself, anyway, for the UK, it's like you've got Jack Catchall coming up at world level. You've got Dalton Smith. For us, like with everything going on with Saudi and stuff like that, that's nice for local guys with actual fan bases as well. That they don't really like Jack in Manchester sells massively. Dalton in Sheffield sells. You know what I mean? But those two as a fan base coming together in Britain for a fight next year, a unification, hopefully, fight next year, I think it would be massive.
Mega. Proper mega. Really good. I think it'd be a fantastic fight as well.
Yeah, I do too. What do you think of Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero? Actually, we'll skip that. We'll go on Ryan Garcia versus Haney rematch. What do you think happens in that? Because the Rolly fight, and I'm not really fussed.
What did you think on the testing, the contamination thing? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, right, there's one thing to call contamination. The problem is Ryan's defense on it all is all over the place. 1 minute it's contamination, then next minute it's someone messing with your test. It's not just contamination from the company. You know what I mean? You've got a batch, you've took it, and that was contaminated. You're then going from that being contaminated to actually, no, that didn't contaminate. Victor Conte and his team contaminated my. It's really for me that smells. That's guilty all over. Where you cannot keep to one because he's blamed Ashwagandha, who ended up coming out and saying we didn't forget. He blamed someone else. Then they told you to send in the batch of what you took. You sent in the taped up bottle what you took your supplements from, when you know that's not what they mean. Like for me, all of that evidence, just not even going on how much was in his system, or just on all that evidence, you sound guilty as hell.
Yeah, I think he's made himself look daft on it, and then obviously all in the build up to that. That was when he had a bottle of beer.
Bottle of beer. Yeah. Everything about it just seemed like. For me, looking back, when you look back on the situation of all the antics and stuff, it felt like he was doing everything to divert away from what he was actually doing. That's what it looks like to me now, looking back at things, because I'm thinking, why would you bet so much money that you definitely going to come on weight, where you knew yourself you had no intentions of coming on weight? Why would you then drink a bottle on the scales? Why would you be smoking, having videos smoking whatever you're smoking? Like, it's weird to me looking back, just thinking all of that just, and then you ended up popping dirty. That's like, so it's one of them magician tricks, right? Look at me here, whilst you're just nicking something with that hand. You know what I mean? You're doing something else with the other hand.
It is performer. That this stage of his career is going to affect him for the rest of his life. I think same as like not just the doping, but same as now Conor Benn. It's always going to come back to this. He was. I mean, his performance was amazing. I think Haney and his dad, they seem like babies. To be fair, don't get me wrong. In the doping situation, I understand that, and you'd want that struck off. But some of the comments his dad makes about like we want this strict thing, and I don't know. Diva comes to mind. Do you know what I mean now?
Yeah, I get that point, but I'm on the other hand. I'm glad you've got the other perspective on that, because for me, when Ryan acted, there's certain things like the lawsuit and stuff like that. For me, I think that was tactical to get the rematch, because ultimately they seem to have worked that out to get the rematch. But when his dad's going on about you need to take this drug test and that, for me personally, I don't blame them, because Ryan, you did so much. Like even the build up for the fight, it's not only the drugs. You came in overweight on purpose.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
You purposely came in overweight. So it's not only like you popped dirty, but you came in overweight. Your antics before the fight, everything selling the fight, even after the fight, with what you've been saying, and then you went on this racist thing on Twitter where you're talking like you did so much. Like now we've got a rematch. I can't risk you doing anything. So you need to be on this, do this, do this. If you can't do that, we're not having a fight, because last time Ryan was allowed to do whatever he wanted. And
I agree 100% with you on that. That wouldn't. I'm not against you on that at all. I think testing needs to be completely changed. Full stop in boxing, massively. That's a different story anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks Haney maybe doesn't want the fight as much. I know that maybe that's not how it seems. This is just me. When you read into things or when you see videos of it, comments, whatever, interviews he's had, there's just a part of me that thinks they would like it to not go through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that angle. I can see that angle, that you're doing so much hoping that Ryan says, no, I'm not doing it. And I can definitely see it from that point of view. Now, you've mentioned it. If you're looking at it from that side of why are you, because I've seen people, why are you obsessing with this when Ryan doesn't want to do it? Why are you obsessing with this? So I can see it from that point of view. You can look at it and going, well, you're forcing that, hoping Ryan will pull out. But like I said, I'm on the other side where I'm like, in this situation, you did so much wrong in that first fight. You did so much wrong in that first fight. I personally can't trust you. I need you to be on this schedule doing exactly these points. For me personally, I can't blame someone for doing that, for being sure. But I can see the other side when people are saying, oh, well, he's saying this. What if he's doing that? We both don't know. So your point of how you're thinking about it is very valid. And like I said, my point is valid because that's how I'm looking at it from. I've got my reasons to look at it from that. You've got your reasons, obviously, how the fight went and Ryan dropping Ernie and that. There's every reason for people to think that he doesn't want that fight again.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a big shock anyway.
I'm a massive Devin Haney fan.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Haney fan. But for me, it was a massive shock. But I also say to people, go back and watch that fight. The rounds he got dropped in, he got beat up. I understand. But the rounds he didn't get dropped in, Devin was outboxing him and he was beating him. So when you're looking at it, obviously the fight happened. The highlight of the fight is Haney getting dropped. That's all you're going to see. The narrative of it is all you're going to see is you got your ass beat, and that's what people are going to see, which is fair. But you might have got a call. I think CJ has had a call, maybe. Is there anything in the chat? I can't actually see the chat, Rico. Are you back? Did you get a call? Yeah. Did you get a call or something?
Is that working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? See. You still can't hear me? He might have took a call.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? If you leave the studio and come back in, 1 second, I'll put it in the chat. Can you hear me? Sorry, guys, 1 second. Rico, can you just play the promo video for 2 seconds? I'll try and sort this out. And the studio again. All right. Right, I'm doing it now, buddy. Right, thanks. 2 seconds, guys. CJ's going to be back. Thanks for tuning in anyway. It's been a good conversation. It's been different not having Rico, laughing at every word I say, claiming he needs subtitles. So hopefully no one else needed subtitles for both me and CJ tonight. But yeah, all I can say is thanks for tuning in. Hopefully CJ will be back in a couple of seconds. Here he is. Can you hear me?
Is it back on, mate? Sorry, but I don't know.
Yeah, nah, you're all right. You're all right. Well, I forgot where we was actually. Where was we? Haney. Oh yeah, I was talking about his performance. Yeah, outside of, as a boxing fan, obviously you go back and watch the fights after it happens when there's no emotion in it, or you haven't got, you know what's happening. You can analyze the footage as happening. And I think Haney has every reason to be confident he beats Ryan. A change of the game plan and doing what you was doing in the rounds you was winning, because you was doing that perfectly. It was when you got confident and got comfortable and you thought you could stay in there with Ryan and bang with him. Yeah. Although whether Ryan had something in his system or not, the game plan to stand there and bang with Ryan was a wrong game plan.
And that's all part of learning your trade as well, isn't it? That's all part of, until you've been in there and done that, you don't know, do you?
It really is. I think he's got every reason to be confident going into that fight. I keep saying, like, you look at Ryan's body type. For me, like from the Tank fight, obviously he was drained or whatnot, but Ryan's a muscular but slender person. In that Haney fight, his shoulders was big. He seemed to be more of like a bodybuilder type. His whole body shape sort of changed. Dramatically. I wonder in his next fight, this is what I was saying to some of the people, that I wonder if in his next fight his body shape changes back to being more of a slender build, a lean build, rather than stocky. His shoulders seem to be bigger in this fight. What do you think about how his body type sort of changed from when he was at 135 to moving to 140, which he never really fought at 140 either?
How much can it change? Do you know? I know you're right. You did look like your shoulders were popping out and stuff. I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see, won't we?
My thing is, I wonder if his body shape goes back to, because obviously he got popped for whatever he popped for. I'm just wondering and very intrigued to see how he comes back, and is he all of a sudden back to the lean way he looked, where Ryan was more skinny than muscles. He was always more skinny than muscles. He was always quick. His quickness came from how lean he was, in my opinion. That left hand, it's lethal, as it's proven. It is lethal.
It's rapid as well.
It's very fast. It's very fast. So I do wonder how he's going to look against the Rolly Romero.
Rolly Rolando it's a ridiculous fight, mate. Honestly, he's absolutely. Yeah, I don't.
Go on, go on. Say a bit on Rolly, because the producer in the background will love your take on Rolly.
It's not. I read about it earlier as tune-up fight. I don't even think it's a tune-up fight. I honestly don't think it's a tune-up fight. It's like a lamb to the slaughter fight. And then who's Haney's boxing Ramirez? Is that right?
Ramirez, yeah.
I think that's a tougher fight than you think. I think that's a very tough fight. I actually think Ramirez on the day could stop Haney.
I said this. I said the Ryan Rolly fight for me is just, I don't really. The Isaac Cruz fight, I didn't mind. I thought Ryan would end up catching Cruz because he's there to be hit anyway. Yeah. But for me, Cruz as a threat is way more of a threat than what Rolly's going to do in that fight.
Did Pitbull stop Rolly? I think did
Pitbull stopped him. Yeah, he stopped him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a joke fight for me. That
but like you said, with the Ramirez Haney fight, that for me, I'm glad. As a Haney fan, I'm glad he's taking that fight, simply because it's a hard fight, so he has to be on point.
Yeah,
you don't want to be getting into a tune-up sort of fight. This rematch is there. You get into a tune-up fight, you go in there and you overlook this guy. You don't train like you normally do. I don't believe Haney would do that anyway, but there's always that possibility of it's a no-name, it's a tick-over, it's this. But the Ramirez fight, both of them are this is the first fight at 147, I'm guessing it's going to be at. Yeah. Well, it's both the first fight over 140. Ramirez is actually a bigger fighter than Haney because he started at 140. I believe he stayed at 140 for way too long. I think once he lost to Josh for the Undisputed, I believe he should have moved up then, because I think he was draining himself to make that weight. Like you said, I think it is. It's a difficult fight for Haney. I think
it's a dangerous fight, man. Just like you said there, I like it when they take these fights start. Like, that's what you want to see. You never want to see someone sat in the comfort zone. You don't want to see people cruising. Tune-up fights need to happen. I'm a massive believer in that. Rolly's not a tune-up fight. That's a walkover fight, and it is. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's a fight you expect a prospect. Maybe not a prospect to take, but I think he's going to breeze him over.
Well,
Rolly's
previous opponent, I think, was it? What's his name? Prospect from America. Is it Moses? What's his name? He's just fought. I can't remember his name now. His name's completely. I won Prospect of the Year last year.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He's just fought. He's fighting Rolly's ex-opponent. Like Rolly. Right now, you're right. For me, he needs to be fighting prospects. He's the guy where prospects say, let me see where I'm at.
Your gatekeeper, sort of speak.
Yeah, your gatekeeper. Because, one, I don't believe Rolly has boxing ability to be at that level of boxing.
No, I don't.
he don't.
Manuel, is it Jaimes?
No, who was it? I can't think.
Well, David stopped him, and then Barroso, and then Cruz stopped him.
Barroso fight, he shouldn't have won.
No,
Barroso got stopped because he punched Rolly. Honestly, I remember watching that and thinking, what is go? I was like, what's the referee doing? I originally thought he just broke it up.
Yeah, pull them apart, sort of.
Yeah, just to move them apart out of the corner. And when he started waving his hand, I was like, but yeah, really, really versus Ryan. We've got 5 minutes left. I want to go on just obviously heavyweight division. What do you make of Tyson retiring? Firstly,
Again.
actually, what do you make of what did you make of the rematch with Usyk? What did you see in that? Because there's a lot of people that believed for some reason that Fury did enough to win that fight, and Usyk is. But what do you think on that?
I don't think it was a bad performance from Tyson at all. I think I had it maybe three rounds up Usyk, maybe 4 rounds up Usyk. I certainly don't think there needs to be a third at all. I'd watch it, but there doesn't need to be a third whatsoever, right? Usyk has nothing to prove now. Tyson Fury can't beat Usyk. There's nothing. There's no shame in that. Usyk will go down as one of the greatest ever. Tyson Fury's done his own thing in his career and been a standout. The retirement again is money, and it's. I don't know. Is it just baiting out Joshua? I don't know. How much money can he get out of it? I hate that. I hate that he's done that again with the retirement stuff.
To be quite honest with you, I called it. I felt like he was going to do it. I did. I think one of my first episodes of Crossroads was that I spoke about the heavyweight division and where these certain fighters would go, where Joshua would be going next, what Fury. And my thing was Fury. I had 3 options for him, and 2 of them was retirement, because that's what I believed he would do. I said he would fight either AJ or retire. And the retirement announcement doesn't surprise me. I've always been of the belief that Tyson's never wanted to fight AJ. I think.
Who do you think could win the fight?
For years, I always said AJ would beat Fury. Now, I honestly don't know, because the version of AJ I see now, no, I don't know if he can do. It was that just. I generally now. This is now where I want to see the fight, because I don't know what's going to happen. For years, I wanted to see the fight because I felt like AJ would stop him. For years,
I'm glad you said that, because someone said to me the other day, a trainer in Doncaster, is it going to get to the stage of Mayweather Pacquiao or even Khan Brook? Too past it. I think it is the perfect stage. You don't know what AJ is going to turn up, and clearly Fury's ego's been dropped right down for the man who what was his quote of no man born from his brother will be mother, sorry, will be able to ever beat me. I think it's the perfect time for that fight, and I hope it gets made. I pray it gets made. I think we don't get to see that.
I'm in the exact mind. Like I said, I'm a massive AJ fan. I think a lot of people, you know what I mean, AJ, boxing in Britain was sort of dead and no one really cared for a long time until he broke on the scene, and these big fights. And obviously not only him, the Olympians from 2012, what happened that year to break out. And since then, obviously Eddie took the ball and rolled with it, and Frank is doing his bit, and how we are now. AJ brought so much to boxing that it was hard not to be a fan of him. And what he was doing in the ring, what he was doing outside the ring, how he carried himself, it was always hard not to be a fan of AJ.
Yeah.
I always believed he would beat Fury. But like you said, I can honestly sit here and say now, I don't know, because the last performance I saw from AJ, does he beat Fury? Who would say, you know what I mean? The performance itself, it wasn't that Daniel beat him, anything. The full performance from round 1 to round 5 where it ended, it wasn't a good performance. I didn't see AJ. I think, what did AJ do? Maybe 3 seconds before he ended up getting stopped. That was his best part in the fight.
Yeah, that's literally it. It was a shadow of an AJ. It was nothing like AJ. It was nothing like an AJ performance. I hope he gets whatever happens with him from here on, I do hope he gets the credit he deserves, just like you said, for what he's done outside of the ring as well, for what he's done for British boxing, for what he's done for British heavyweight boxing. I just think from what's his name? Sorry, I forgot his name now. Look, Mexican who beat him.
Oh, Ruiz.
I just think from Ruiz, he's never. I don't know. He's never had the fans behind him properly.
Yeah.
From there. And I don't think he deserves that.
I think the problem with boxing fans is we're very quick to. Thanks, Trey. Yeah, my new played, and I have one here now. you see, we've chose to do the show instead of watching second half of my new, but
I'm a Leeds fan, mate, so I need to week out.
Right, we need to go now. I agree. I think the problem with boxing fans, I find, is like we're very quick to drop fighters. Not me personally.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, mate. Yeah,
but boxing fans in general, I don't think your hardcore fans. There's not as many hardcore fans as there is casual fans. So your casual fans, they seem to drop fighters so quickly, especially if it's aesthetically it don't look pleasing to them. With the Ruiz fight, there's like, oh, AJ was always a hype, and this fact of someone was always never good enough when they've achieved so much already in the sport up to that point is crazy to me. That
of course it is,
anybody, they do it in football, speaking man, you do it in football as well. Like, obviously Rashford's not playing well, but everyone's like, he's never been good. And it's like, you're deluded in the brain that there is clips out there, there's video evidence of this certain person doing unbelievable things and how well they were doing and who they was fighting in AJ. To say because he got beat by someone he was never good, it blows my mind.
That's you know what I want to say about that as well, and I always say this to everyone. People say like, God, Ruiz is fat. He's never going to be. He won a junior Olympic medal. Like it was no joke.
The thing is with that is, I said to people when it was like, oh, look at it, I was like, for me, he should have already been a world champion.
Yeah,
because
100%.
I thought he beat Parker. The only reason why Parker got that decision was because it was in New Zealand. Like,
I agree with that.
I said this when I was like, Ruiz is a good fighter, and they're like, oh, nah, he's not. No, I was like, he is though. When you watch the sport, and this is why I like doing this podcast and going on spaces with boxing fans, because it's a lot easier to have a boxing conversation with somebody who's willing to listen to you and then give their point, rather than talking to someone who they already have the mind made up. So, like, I don't go to the pub to watch fights. I can't sit in a pub.
I can't do that, mate. I can't listen to it, honestly. I'm glad you said that.
I can't sit. The closest we get to it is we do our watch party. We do a watch party, 505 watch party, which I commentate on. Last one we did was Fury Usyk 2. Denzel Beltley was commentating on that as well with us. Joshua Batts, his manager, was there as well. And you're talking about boxing whilst you're commentating, but you're talking about boxing with people who know about boxing. So the conversation's normal. When I've sat in a pub before and listened to the stuff that come out, it infuriates me. I can't do it.
Do you love the... I'd beat him.
Just smash him.
Why aren't you just smashing him up? I think if you put gloves on for 3 minutes on pads, mate, you would understand how
I know. I've done it. That's why I've been back to the gym for how long.
Hey, I'm only not commenting because I think I'm weighing more than Ruiz at the minute.
No, I'm definitely going to come down. I think I'm going to. If you're there Saturday, I'm working till 12 Saturday. Till 12, and if you're there, I'll probably come through and see you and come down. But no, I appreciate this. This was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Hopefully, we can have you on again more often. You can be a regular if you want.
I'd love to. Honestly, mate, I would absolutely love to. And just while quickly I'm on, my mate texted me and said, "Rian Fora's lightweight."
All right. All right. Right, brilliant. Cheers for that, CJ. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. CJ might be with us next week. We don't know, but watch the space. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Cheers.
No problem, mate. Right, thank you everyone for tuning in. It was a great episode with CJ. It was nice to talk about boxing to someone from my area. You know what I mean? In Yorkshire, we get told, I keep getting told by Rico, he can't understand me, but hopefully you lot are getting used to my voice, because we're not stopping. We're back next week, and I'll see you then. Cheers. It's another band. All the Muslim calls now, whichever get up. I start my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flips me a back by the so it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.